Oh man, it's so crazy. It really is crazy. My heart is pounding. I'm not the type of person that gets nervous at many of these kinds of scenarios and like interviews and stuff, but for whatever reason, this one's different. Like to be in New York, to be doing this here, to be like literally walking into this building is something. The last time I was here, it was during Occupy Wall Street, and we were protesting right over here, and it's amazing to be back here in New York, like 8 years later, 8.5 years later, something like, no, just over 8 years later, to now go into the belly of the beast and literally step onto the floor of the New York Stock Exchange and deliver a message about a new education, a new alternative, and that's what Superhero Academy is about. That's what Freedom Culture is about. That's what I'm about. That's what you're about if you're watching this. And so it's just amazing to be here. It's such a significant space. It's such an incredible spot to be, and it's just so culturally overlooked in some ways, right? Like, we have the CNNs and the market tickers and all that stuff, but we forget this is where the heartbeat is happening. This is where the lifeblood of our culture is kind of run in the underground. And so, just amazing. I've never been on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. I can imagine it's probably not the last time I'll go, depending on what I say on camera, but let's see. Park, Occupy Wall Street. I remember being here and doing like people's megaphones and doing all these little things.
You want to get in the front, I'm in the back.
Let's do this. Yeah, we're not throwing up the flash.
Okay, what are the holes and how are you trying to fill them in?
Well, the way I see it is that at the end of the day, people want to be self-actualized. They want to live their own version of freedom culture. They want to find a way to earn a living and play a role and a purpose in society. But the way I see it is that right now, traditional education systems aren't doing that. They're not allowing for real mentorship in the creation of what they're learning and what they're absorbing in schools. So how do we bridge that gap? How do we allow people to be able to learn from people who have actually done the work and not just from textbooks and theory? And I mean, there's no doubt about the fact that there's a crisis going on in America and around the globe for student debt. So finding a cheaper way to democratize that, to putting out this kind of content and allowing people from around the globe to actually access this information, I mean, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, even the textbooks themselves are outdated by the time they're printed. Mm-hmm. So there's always something going on. I mean, we feel the pulse here. It's alive. It's happening at all times. So how do we tap into that? How do we tap into that?
How do you? How do you guys do this?
Well, to me, the fastest way is going through the process of putting this content online, realizing that the new television is now live streamed on Facebook and Instagram and all these different places. So education is a frame of mind. It's something that's happening at all times. And the way I see it is everybody wants to be better than the person they were yesterday. And the fastest way to do that is to become smarter. It's to educate yourself, to find ways to learn more about the world around you, no matter the topic. And so that's what Superhero Academy is about.
And what about this idea of this freedom culture? Is that something that every individual can actually afford? Not all of us can pursue what we love to do and be able to do that for the rest of our lives.
Well, I don't believe that freedom culture is the kind of thing that we have to buy or that there's something that needs to happen. We have to understand that it starts with your own clarity and commitment, understanding where you want to go and what you want to do. Now, of course, some of us have dreams that are way too expensive for us to afford, right? And we need to find ways to enable that further. I believe that systematically we can build systems in schools and education that can actually support this in a powerful way. And I'm seeing it happen. I mean, we experienced a 100x growth on Superhero Academy online. It was incredible what was able to go down, and that wasn't because of the fact that we were raising the price. It wasn't because we were being exclusive, it's actually because we lowered the price. So I do believe there's a disruption in education happening at the moment, and we'll continue to see that happen.
Who's the target audience for this? Is this high schoolers? Is it people that are about to go into the college application process? Who is it?
I would have thought that, honestly, I really would have thought it would have been millennials. I really would have thought that people were coming through education, the college system, maybe coming out without getting a job or anything like that they would be the most drawn in. But what we're noticing is that empty nesters, women particularly, who really want to change their careers, they want to step up into something new, or maybe all of a sudden their kids are off to college and they want to step into a new career path. So it's been fairly varied. We've had students apply from pretty much all over the globe, from Asia to Australia to Canada, America. I mean, it's pretty varied. It's pretty worldwide.
That's amazing. And you also have an idea of redefining what ROI stands for. Return on investment is what we're used to down here on Wall Street. What does ROI mean to you?
Well, I don't want to cancel out the ROI of return on investment. I mean, if you're going to learn how to be a creative, a freelancer, an entrepreneur of any kind, you definitely have to track what is happening on these screens and happening in your own company. But I also believe that we need to find ways to track the ROI of ripple of impact. The thought that there is so many consequences to our actions, to what happens on Wall Street, to what happens in business, and recognizing that has environmental impacts. We can track the social economic impact of that. We can track something differently. And I don't know how to measure that yet. That's something we need to figure out.
The debate about whether or not higher education, if it's worth it for a lot of people, it's gaining more traction. We're seeing a lot more people really start to have that conversation about, is going to college even worth it, with how many people have student loans?
Totally.
But do you feel that the higher education system has failed us?
I do. I really do. I believe it's failed me
and why
personally.
Is that?
I mean, I think it's because we're not trained to actually understand how to do a job. We're not really trained to come out into the marketplace and know what we actually are doing. I mean, how many people become lawyers and never spent a single day with a lawyer? How many people become any job without ever spending time actually learning what that's like? And in our generation, the millennial generation, we have less commitment nowadays. Mm-hmm. We're less likely to want to stay. We have less loyalty to a job. And so I think a lot of people are disillusioned, and that debt that they took on getting some science major or whatever, and then all of a sudden realizing that that's not what they want, that can be really costly. And I think we're going to see the effects in the market as the market continues to plunge.
And part of your solution too is to have that Johnny Tremaine method, right, of apprenticeship. And we've seen a lot of schools adopt that too, going back to that vocational model.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's beyond time that we get back to this. I believe it's the fastest way we can run people through an education. In a year, you can learn everything you need to know and the specifics of that job versus spending 4 years in college, ending up in an enormous amount of debt and not really actually having the tangible skill sets you need.
All right, Marc, great stuff. Keep up the good work. Marc Angelo Coppola is the founder of Superhero Academy. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank
you so much.
Pretty epic.
Very epic. No matter how many times you give them your name written down on a piece of paper, you literally hand them your ID, they still spell it wrong. They still spell it wrong. No matter how many times. I literally had her ID with my name on it.
That's what he knew, that they'd always remember him. Marc P. Coppola. Always ready for a good time.
Always ready. It's been a long time coming. I've always known it's been coming. I've been telling people like Garrett, who hangs out with me for the last 3 years, that we're willing to do the work. We're willing to show up. We're willing to do the PR. We're willing to show up to Cheddar. We're willing to come all the way to New York just to do this and to meet other people and to have like amazing conversations. But to be at the epicenter of something and realize that more and more as I flourish in my career, as I grow in my career, I found a way to step into a new role. To realize that I have to sometimes be a chameleon, that sometimes I'm going to be on the New York Stock Exchange floor and sometimes I'm going to be in a hippie circle meditating. The contrast of those things, the contrast of wearing a shirt versus wearing some onesie or something at some onesie party. I mean, it's amazing the range that I've had to have over the years, and I'm just really proud. I'm really proud that I'm here. I think my mom would be proud, I think my family would be proud, because we get to change this. We get to make the new paradigm. We get to make the next Wall Street. We get to rebuild Main Street. And we got to worry about that. We got to think about that. We don't have to worry about it. We have to think about it. We have to put time and energy towards that. We have to realize that these things have impact. And sometimes I feel, and the world feels, that Wall Street is disconnected from Main Street. That everyday people like you and I aren't heard here. That over the bells and the churnings and the yelling and screaming, the applause, that sometimes we go unnoticed. But you're not unnoticed by me. I'm here for the people. I'm here for me. I'm here for my family. I'm here for my friends. I'm here for my community. But I'm also here for you. I'm here to represent a new way of thinking, the other ROI of Ripple of Impact. It's going to start with you and I voting with not only our dollars and cents, but voting with our sense, right? Our ability to feel something new, a new movement coming about.